Hello, everybody. My name is Arnold. We're here in my living room in the East Ward of Newark, and today I'll be reading Chapter 3 in the Winnie the Pooh book. And I'm joined here by a bear friend who reminds me of Winnie the Pooh. Oops, I don't know who stays up here. Well, we'll put him down. So, Chapter 3, in which Pooh and Piglet go hunting and nearly catch a woozle. What's a woozle? I guess we'll find out when we read the chapter. Piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree. And the beech tree was in the middle of a forest. And Piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board which had Trespassers W on it. And here is Piglet's house in the beech tree and a sign that says Trespassers W. When Christopher Robin asked Piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said, "You couldn't be called Trespassers W." And Piglet said, "Yes, you could, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William. And his grandfather had two names in case he lost one, Trespassers after an uncle, and William after Trespassers." Did you ever think that you had two names in case you lost one? How do you lose a name? "I've got two names," said Christopher Robin carelessly. "Well, there you are," said Piglet. "It proves it." One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking round and round in a circle, thinking of something else, when Piglet called to him, and he just went right on walking. "Hello," said Piglet. "What are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Winnie the Pooh, very mysteriously. "Tracking what?" said Piglet, coming closer. "That's just what I asked myself. I asked myself, what?" "What do you think you'll answer?" "I shall have to wait until I catch up with it," said Winnie the Pooh. "Now look there." And he pointed the ground in front of him. "What do you see there?" "Tracks," said Piglet. "Paw marks." He gave a little squeal of excitement. "Oh, Pooh, what do you think it's a woozle?" And there is Pooh and Piglet looking at the tracks. And there you see them and the tracks behind them. So who do you think is making all those tracks? Could be that Pooh and Piglet are making them. "It may be," said Pooh. "Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You can never tell with paw marks." With these few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. "What's the matter?" asked Piglet. "It's a very funny thing," said Bear, "but there seems to be two animals now. This whatever it was has been joined by another whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way and said he had nothing to do until Friday and would be delighted to come in case it really was a woozle. "You mean in case it is two woozles," said Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet said that anyhow they had nothing to do until Friday, so off they went together. There was a small spiny of larch trees just here, and it seemed as if the two woozles, if that's what they were, had been going round and round these trees. So round the trees went Pooh and Piglet after them. Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather Trespassers W had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather Trespassers W had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath and other matters of interest. And Pooh was wondering what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was two grandfathers they were after now, and if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say. And still the tracks went on in front of them. Where do you think all those tracks are coming from? Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of him. "Look!" "What?" said Piglet with a jump. And then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice in an exercising sort of way. "The tracks," said Pooh. "A third animal has joined the other two." And there you have Piglet jumping up and down as Winnie the Pooh and him look at the tracks. "Pooh," said Piglet, "do you think it's another woozle?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. It's either two woozles and one as it might be woozle, or two as it might be woozles and one if it is woozle. Let's continue to follow them." A little confusing to me. So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now, in case the three animals in front of them had hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather T.W. were there instead of elsewhere. And Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then all of a sudden Winnie the Pooh stopped again, licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever in his life before. There were 4 animals in front of them. "Do you see?" said Piglet. "Look at their tracks." And there's Pooh and Piglet looking at the tracks. 3, as it were, woozles, and one of them, as it was, a whizzle. Another woozle has joined them. And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks, crossing over each other here, getting muddled up with each other there, but quite plainly every now and then the tracks of 4 sets of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort. "I think that I just remembered something. I've just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday that I shouldn't be able to do tomorrow, so I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." "We'll do it this afternoon, and I'll come with you," said Pooh. "It isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon," said Piglet quickly. "It's a very particular morning thing that has to be done in the morning, and if possible between the hours of, what would you say time it was?" "About 12, said Pooh, looking at the sun. "Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me, what's that?" Why do you think Piglet's so anxious to get away? Maybe scared by what they might be following. Pooh looked up at the sky, and then he heard the whistle again. He looked up into the branches of the big oak tree, and then he saw a friend of his. Then you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye." And he trotted off as quickly as he could, and very glad to be out of danger. Christopher Robin came slowly down from the tree. And there's Christopher Robin in the tree. And there's Piglet, leaving very quickly and in a big hurry. "Silly old bear," he said. "What were you doing?" First, you went round that tree twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went round the tree again together, and then you were just going round the 4th time. "Wait a minute," said Winnie the Pooh holding up his paw. He sat down and thought in the most thoughtful way he could. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks, and then he scratched his nose twice and stood up. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh. "I see now," said Winnie the Pooh. "I have been foolish and deluded," said he, "and I am a bear of no brain at all." "You're the best bear in the world," said Christopher Robin soothingly. "Am I?" said Pooh hopefully, and then he brightened up suddenly. "Anyhow," he said, "it's nearly lunchtime," and so he went home for it. And that's the end of Chapter 3, in which they go woozle hunting, only to find out that the tracks they were following was really of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. And here, my bear, old host say goodbye, and we'll see you next week.